Oh, hi. Are you here for the fun question? Me too. The Fun Question, a show where we explore the strange and powerful ways people engage in a life of fun. I'm your host, Dr. David Thomas, the professor of fun, coming to you from my hidden lair and back for another week of playful exploration. My guest today is Lonnie Hanzon, an icon of the Denver art and design scene and an immersive entertainment legend, in my opinion. He's a creative who's responsible for such wide-ranging work as the Houston Zoo lights, set pieces for the Neiman Marcus department stores, designs for toy stores and museums. He's the creator of the lovely Cabinet of Curiosities at Denver's Museum of Outdoor Arts, the Heist nightclub in Washington, D.C., and the local holiday spectacular Camp Christmas. That's just touching the surface, but it gives you a sense of the kind of interesting, cool, and immersive work that Lonnie's done. Lonnie's one of those rare artists who can talk about immersive as an important development in the arts, but really offer that through a lens of a lifetime of practice. So welcome, Lonnie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
David, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So let me just start off with this. So, as a creative, you get grouped in by me and I think others into this world of immersive art and entertainment. First of all, is that a fair characterization? And if so, what the heck is immersive art?
I sort of joined the whole band of this movement and what it's being called immersive. This last round, which I'm going to say about the last 10 years, right? Is that we've been talking, right? That what I would call immersive 1.0. And I still think it's, when thinking about talking to you today, it's like immersive to me is continues to be qualities, not nouns.
Say more about that. What do you mean?
That I just think what we call immersive is the new user interface, the new UX for live and canned media. If we're going to build something beyond the robot or have any kind of emotional exchange beyond robots, we creators in this immersive space end up using a bunch of different languages, a bunch of different tools to try to make the experience. It's always experiential, but try to make that experience, impactful and sometimes even transforming. And so, I just think of it as sort of a multimedia. Remember when it was called transmedia?
Oh yeah, back in the day.
But it just, I call it a quality because I think the designers take responsibility for the experience of their audience on every level that they can, right? Can they control the sound? Control the sound. Can they control the light? The light, the visuals, the scent, the psychology, the magic, all of that stuff. Like a magician uses many, many different things in order to get the effect. And I just think of immersive as being that too. That we use a lot of languages in a circle to make a thing that's bigger than a single media or people sitting in the dark and watching a passive thing.
I got you. So, you and I are of the age, we grew up sitting in front of a television.
Yeah.
What point in time as a creator did you say, I want more? I want more than just pushing images and sounds onto this box. What was that kind of aha moment for you that like, this is it. This is the thing I want to do?
Actually, I was studying a little bit about red skeleton the other day because of my new project called Red that is going to be coming up. And I had not realized how influential he was to me because I saw he was already rolling by the time I was born. I'm born in 59. So,
and maybe just for people that have no idea what you're talking about, who was Red Skeleton? What did he do?
Oh God, Red Skeleton was this amazing comedian that worked like 50 years, 60 years in the business. He invented the laugh track,
Mm-hmm.
on all the television shows. He
Wow.
wrote something like 800 pieces of music and
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of short stories. And but he was known for these characters, some of which would not be PC today.
Yeah, yeah.
Freddie the Freeloader, and he would do a tramp, hobo, homeless dude was one of his characters. But he was the most gentle, sweet, funny,
Mm-hmm.
nurturing character. And I didn't realize he was such a polymath.
Yeah, yeah,
He composed for Muzak. I mean, it was
yeah,
like
yeah.
weird. He did anything he could to like make a living.
So you're gonna feel
So
like you just saw somebody that did more than just was an actor, a comedian that just did it all, and you like that's what you wanted to do.
yeah, I was kind of raised with. I had a father that could do it all. He was a design engineer, and he was quite the talk of the town.
Mm-hmm.
And So we were always raised to think that you could do everything,
Gotcha.
anything.
So when we get to immersive, I mean, I know immersive is this kind of bubbly, emerging thing. Can we just describe one of your projects that you think is fully immersive, just to give people a sense of what that is if they've never experienced it before?
To me, is something immersive. I mean, I've succeeded. It's not concrete because it's very intangible. If I succeed at creating something that was completely immersive, it means that the audience um, left their worldly lives, that they truly became present
Mm-hmm.
in the space that I had designed or created for them. That they actually accept the gift, and their entire presence is about what's happening right now in this space,
Mm-hmm.
right? We don't always get there,
Yeah, yeah.
but that is the goal. The goal is to um you, like I said, use all the languages, because I don't just use, I use typography, and I use color, and I use uh illusion, and I use prose, and I use poetry, and I use, we use all the things that we can help reinforce um this world that we're creating for people. And the immersive experiences, if you can recall your own immersive experiences from your life by thinking about moments that you will be able to remember forever because they were so inspiring to you. But just those magical real moments that you as a kid or as an adult were really taken, were completely bought in to what was happening at that place in that time.
So for a lot of
So,
people, I mean, they would say something like that sounds like Disneyland as a kid, or maybe it's
well, Disneyland, I got reminded the other day by AI, because I had AI doing some biographical research on me, and
uh
it was bringing up to me, says, well, you were, as a kid, you were like, you're going to be Walt Disney, and then you went to work for George Lucas, and then
uh
you've always been attracted, and then Mad King Ludwig is your big hero. These were all builders, right?
yeah,
They
yeah.
were all people that were building worlds. That Disneyland was the first time that somebody had he had built berms, around Disneyland, so that once you're inside of Disneyland, you cannot see the outside world. You
Right, right.
cannot see California. You're inside of his world. So I think, yeah, he was a big one. But I also got to say, going back to the invention of opera
Mm.
was immersive, because for audiences back then to have musicians combined with singers, combined with costume, combined with sets, all of that, that great spectacle, that was considered immersive.
Yeah, the Wagnerian Gesamtkunstwerk, the encompassing artwork, right? And then you mentioned Neuschwanstein, Ludwig, the
Yeah,
Mad King.
yeah,
Even to this day, it's like it transports you to a place that doesn't seem to exist on this planet.
right.
Even as you approach it, when you can see it, it's a castle on a hill, and it's extraordinary. And you go
And
inside, and it's the same. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, his sets. He was a producer. he was a show producer,
Yeah.
but he was completely in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they eventually killed him for it. But
True
boy,
story.
he
True
knew.
story. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, but he threw some amazing theatrical events.
So I want to talk a little bit about maybe some things that I've seen of yours that I adore. Like the Cabinet of Curiosities in its current incarnation, it's a jewel box building filled with the artifacts from fairy tales. And
Right.
it's not a very big place, but when you walk in, it really does feel like these fairy tales were real and these are the artifacts of it. And you can't look in any direction where the illusion of being in the fairy tale isn't alive. Can you talk a little bit about what you were after and how you achieved that and what you would like someone to experience in that room?
Well, the cabinet of the official title is the Cabinet of Curiosities and Impossibilities because
Uh-huh.
it is
Okay.
based on the idea that if Lewis Carroll, um, uh, the character, not Dobson, the actual writer, but the character Lewis Carroll, if Lewis Carroll had his own cabinet,
Hmm.
what would have Lewis Carroll have collected?
Collected. Yeah.
So he collected artifacts from all the fairy tales, from his own, from Hans Christian Andersen, Aesop's Fables, Grimm's, Mother Goose, um, and Hans Christian Andersen. Okay.
Hmm.
So we then went on an expedition around the world and found the objects. So we have Little Miss Muffet's tuffet. We
Hmm.
have Little Red's riding hood.
Hmm.
We have Rapunzel's braid. We have the piece of the London Bridge that made it fall down.
Hmm.
We have, I think there's 63 fairy tales represented in the cabinet,
Wow.
and the way that I built the cabinet, I was very honored that they built me a little building for this because it had been a show and then it had become a permanent exhibit and then it was in storage and then they built this little building for it. And I think once you're inside, you can't really see out. You're kind of surrounded with things, and we've started on the walls. The room is themed all the way around by certain subjects of objects that are in the cabinet, and all the walls are covered in 120-year-old encyclopedia pages just to start. So there's just tons and tons of layers of information that you can't really even take in.
Hmm.
But that's the purpose of it because I know that people's brains and emotions take in a lot more content than we recognize in in contemporary science. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. So say more about that. I know you have described yourself as well as others as a maximalist designer.
yes,
And even this, you say, here's a cabinet of curiosities based on artifacts from fairy tales. And I think most people would be like, oh, well, we can get a 10, 12 in there. You just said 63. Like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
when is too much or when is not enough or when do you quit? What does maximalism mean in immersive?
For me, maximalism is me using I'm using everything I can possibly throw at something in order to tell this story in the most robust way possible.
Hmm.
It also means in a lot of my work, and I'm now that I'm getting a little older, I'm beginning to see this incredible pattern in the work that I do. In that, I like to take a subject and try to exhaust it
Hmm.
to find its whole. To just like evolution of the ball at Coors Field. I knew everything about every ball ever invented before sitting down to do the art on it. It's like taking one subject and and just exploding it and try to get all the bits and then say, okay, how can I put all these bits back together so that so I can tell this story in usually a visual way.
Okay. I mean, that's just such a contrast to, this modernism where it's just like the more space, the more blank space, the more neutral colors, the cleaner the lines. And
The
your work is frothy. It's organic. It feels alive because of all the detail.
Yeah, if you need white rooms, you should go to an insane asylum. I mean, I mean that's designed for. I'm designed for stimulation. I mean, I want people to get curious, to get inspired, even to feel like they're part of something. I mean, it's just it's fun for me to like look at all of that stuff, and then I don't know. Again, it's sort of like, to me, I just feel like it's sort of like building a stew or a soup or something.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, it's stone soup. I mean,
Yeah.
the more you know about a particular subject, the more fun you can have with um, what you end up portraying. As in, I was talking earlier about Red, and there'll be a shrine to Red Skelton, and it will have the
Okay.
objects from his life that are important to him. And if you want to find out more about him, you can. But it's just like and that Red being next to a portrait of Red Cloud, the Chief Red Cloud.
Hmm.
So and I'm learning about sprites and elves and gremlins and stuff in Red Lightning. There's a certain kind of red lightning that they're called elves and sprites. So I don't know. I love taking one subject and like I said, exploding it and then putting it back together and then see if it feels like something.
That makes a lot of sense. Let me ask you this. I look at immersive art and entertainment, and sometimes I think really what it is it's a more fun and more playful take on the fine arts. And nothing wrong with the fine arts; they're impressive and beautiful and moving. But
Uh,
immersive plays with it a little more. So for me, immersive is just more fun. It's a more fun version of the fine arts. If that's
yeah.
the case, or if you agree with that at all, I would just say, like, for you, where does the fun come from? Some of it sounds like it comes from density and connection, but there's something else in there. There's a playfulness in there I don't think we've quite got to, that you bring to everything you do.
Well, yeah, I think about how serious artists can be. Oh God, artists can be so serious. And no, my life has always been about I was an adult kid that was sort of the fixer. I was the jester. I was the tap dancer. I was the one that was doing distracting the audience, after somebody fell off the trapeze, right?
Hmm.
So that's where I came from. Was making things happen that would distract from some shadowy stuff, right? And I did that sort of as a survival as a kid, and then it kind of turned into what the career is about, because I think I've always, whether I've ended up doing a lot of fine art, but I didn't start off to be a fine artist at all.
Hmm.
I was supposed to be Danny Kaye. I was supposed to be Red Skelton. I was supposed to be Liberace. I was supposed to be Siegfried
Yeah,
and Roy. You
yeah,
know, I was supposed to be one of those, right?
yeah,
And so
yeah.
I was very much a performer. And I was reminded recently that probably I'm approaching. I think I'm probably approaching fine art as if it's performance art, and I
Okay.
don't know the difference. And I don't have any formal training, so nobody gave me the rules. So
Yeah.
I think it just ended up here.
Well, do you find the work that you do fun, or is it serious underneath it all, or is it both?
I don't have fun. I have a pretty, I, believe it or not, people think I'm just like, Mr. Joyful, skipping around in my glitter. It's a damn hard business. It's a
Yeah, yeah,
really hard thing to pull off. And
yeah,
if I have been working for 50 years now.
yeah.
I've been taking care of myself for 50 years, and it doesn't seem to get any easier,
Hmm.
but and so I just have always thought of it as a mission, and I always thought it was about getting people to um you know rise up, pull their socks up a little bit, and try to have some fun and try to find some joy in things. Um, and the fine art side of it, I like some of the forms, but yeah, the fine art side, you're right, is often very, very serious, and it's considered low brow to be doing a lot of the things that I do. Real artists don't design parades. Real artists don't uh, costume drag queens. Real artists don't, it's
Mm-hmm.
all this don't, what you don't do.
It's Shakespeare, not Red Skelton. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, let me. You on your website, you say form follows function, and those functions should include storytelling, humor, meaning, and magic. What does
Yeah.
that mean, and how does that fit into your kind of your philosophy here of immersive?
I just think it's often assumed that when we say form follows function, it's about, well, here's a chair, and here are the parameters that we uh, create within. And I just think that the things that I was mentioning that were serious or important, that we always kind of treat the magic as some kind of afterthought, or
Mm,
or jewelry or accessory or something, not
yeah, yeah.
as the prime reason that we're doing stuff. And I'm just saying, my prime reason is not to serve me or to serve somebody else. The primary is to serve the audience, and to help them feel something uh, good, and the all the rest of the trappings and all the jargon and the bullshit,
Hmm.
you know, just that's just part of the.
So, do we need magic in our lives? Is that what you're getting at,
I think
or
we
what's a life with?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we don't have any magic, I mean, I often remind people, it's like, think about think about magical moments in your life, and then tell me if those moments uh, felt like they were false and invented by Walt Disney,
Hmm.
and or did they feel like the most truthful, real thing that you've ever felt? Because I know for myself, it's like the times that I've been in awe of, and it's all worked. Um, uh, that is a very that's when magic is real, and
Hmm.
we can see the mystery in life. So I think that um, for us, that because I just think in this world, in this country in particular, we just um, we don't accept aesthetics as being nutritious.
Okay.
It's only dessert, you
Right.
know, and that shouldn't be the way that life is. I mean, right? I mean, we should be having fun on a regular basis. It shouldn't be just, again, this jewelry, this accessory, this little afterthought.
Right. Right. Like real art's got to be like good for you. It's got to
Yeah, yeah, and
no
I don't.
pain, no gain. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's all the castor oil, right?
Yeah.
There's tons of castor oil out there, you know, and it's like, I just don't have any time for that. I I figure that most of my audience is broken, just like I am, just like everybody else is, and man, we don't. I don't need to be. Yeah, I don't need any of that stuff, that holier than thou, that um, stuff, because I think it really separates the world from art. And I've got a big pet peeve in the world that 95% worldwide museums, all the institutions and museums worldwide
Hmm.
are not showing more than 5% of our world's art and treasures,
Uh,
and and sculpture and all of that. 95% of the
uh.
world's beauty is in a dark warehouse. 95%. And I think museums should be busted if they can't show 50% of their collection, but 95% think about that. 95% of the creative output of the world it will never see the light of day.
Wow. So you're saying too much white space in museums. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Victorian Albert, they've made a stab at it, and they've done now the open storage thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're beginning to do that. But can you imagine a world if all of that art was everywhere?
Wow. It would be a more beautiful and wonderful and magical place, I suppose. Yeah.
But
So, we're not going to fix the world today, unfortunately, but I do think that we can, maybe help people think a little, help them think about what immersive is and go find it. Let's just start with like, what are some of your favorite immersive events, locations, experiences, just in your own life? I mean, you mentioned Neuschwanstein. What else? What else is like you've just been like, wow, that was great. Wow, I'd like to see it again.
well, I mean, there's some really big ones. I have not been to House on the Rock. You have, yes?
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's America's Neuschwanstein. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. City Museum in St. Louis,
amazing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
House of Eternal Return in Santa Fe.
Mm-hmm.
It captured me. Um, um, I mean, there's stuff everywhere when I think about it. The Westchester House.
Oh
The
yeah,
Winchester House.
Winchester Mystery House in San
Oh
Jose. Yeah.
God, I mean that. You know, uh, uh, obviously all the Disney products. I mean, they know how to do immersion. Um, uh, and then of course there's some great theater companies in LA. There's some theater companies here in town that are the smaller theater companies like Catamounts and um,
Mm-hmm.
Control Group that do good immersive work. Um,
And we can't forget Casa Bonita. I mean,
yeah, right. Yeah, 1970. Talk about an old one. 73,
there you
74.
go. So I mean, I think we run this list off, and I'm sure people. I would guess that the average person has heard of half of these. And
Okay.
if they've heard of the others, they might like have a category of tourist traps to put next to them.
Yeah.
What is it like? What is the reluctance people have to dive into some of this magic? And how do you coach people past that reluctance to just be like, no, pull over and see the world's largest gopher?
You mean the audience or the
Yeah, the
creators?
audience, like the people. How do you as a creator convince people to get out of their stuffy shirts and to enjoy
Oh
a
my!
little magic once in a while?
Again, I point people back to their own lives. Think about the last time you couldn't stop laughing,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
wherever that was, and whoever you were with, go make that happen again. It's like I mean, talk about. I don't think we've probably been in a more serious world than we are today in 2026.
Yeah.
Um, and I think people, taking some of this in, and a lot of it is, it's not that this stuff is necessarily expensive. There's fun to be found in all over the world. I'm really excited right now about as we go into sort of immersive 2.0. I I think of immersive 1.0 as being over with because we all tried a bunch of stuff that
Hmm.
we weren't supposed to do, and we won and we lost and but we more or less now have like uh, exhausted that bleeding edge sort of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff because now everybody's onto us. So now we have to go to the next step. And I think in the next step of immersive, what I'm excited about is that going after areas that I'm not yet um, really involved with, but I want to be. I want to find the analog um, devices and ways of telling storytelling that do not rely on expensive real estate and do not rely
Hmm.
on expensive human labor. because that's the two things that have financially killed a lot of the immersive work, because we just try to do so much, but it takes humans and it takes real estate, and we end up spending way too much money on both of those things.
So we might point to the $1 billion they spent on the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser immersive hotel,
Yeah,
that by all measures was a great experience. It just couldn't carry its
phenomenal
costs.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
we did a lot of those things. You know, we went over, and when you look back in history, you're always going to see that, you know, some guys tried some really strange filmmaking stuff before the Lumiere brothers actually like got it and made it. You know what I mean? There's always
yeah,
been
yeah,
like these one-offs and these like, oh, jumping off the moon kind of things when something starts, and they can even get backing. I mean, Meow Wolf is a prime example of something that has been able to continue to get investment into
yeah,
it, just
yeah,
because from that backdraft of that first wild hit that they had. They've been able to bank on that.
Well, I think that, the way you describe it, and I think there is a front door to some of this, and it's Halloween and Christmas. I mean, I think, people put lights and statues, and they host parties and haunted houses in their homes, and cheap labor, and it's all fun, and
Yeah,
they're joyous times of the year. And I think maybe what we kind of see is if you like driving around looking at Christmas lights, you should go to Camp Christmas. If you like, seeing the haunted house decorations, maybe you should hit a haunted house. That there really is a doorway to this stuff, and it kind of happens right in people's hands sometimes.
yeah. Well, and I just think there's so many different ways. Again, if we look at, because the escape rooms are now stabilized, and they have an industry now that's really working, and some beautiful, wonderful escape rooms all over the world. Geocaching is like a big
Mm-hmm.
deal. There are three
Yeah,
bazillion people doing geocaching. There's geocaches everywhere. They're becoming very clever. They're becoming
yeah,
these little stories that somebody like me can create and people can enjoy, but we don't even. But again, it doesn't take any human, or it doesn't take any,
yeah.
real estate. I just, vending machines, I think are great
Oh, yeah,
storytelling.
yeah,
Kiddie rides, the old kiddie, the nickel kiddie rides.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, all those sort of things. Every one of those things can be a little joy buzzer.
yeah,
Just a few moments of joy, and can we string those together and learn how to communicate with people off of our, with our little devices, and can we. I'm hoping to develop some apps or find some apps so that we do better storytelling anywhere we want to, that we
yeah.
can do a walking tour, we can do an audio tour, we can, there are lots of ways for this stuff to get, you know, distributed. It's not just the blockbusters, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, Lonnie. 50 years of this at all levels of the business, and you're still coming up with new ideas. I can't wait to see what you come up with next. Well, listen, it's time for the lightning round, or the
Okay.
random question round. I'm going to give you three questions, and
Okay.
you get a sentence to answer them. That's the
Okay.
hard part.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with the hardest one of all here. What object would you place in your personal cabinet of curiosities that explains you best? The wheels are turning.
Um, a pile of horse manure.
Okay. They're real or plastic.
And that's a setup to a joke. There's got to be a pony in here somewhere.
There's got to be a pony in here somewhere. Yeah. Okay.
That
Love it.
that that sums me up. You know,
Okay, this one's easier. As a designer, what's more powerful, glitter, shadow, or music?
I'm going to say music. Actually,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can get a lot
Music is a,
further
is a
with
great
music than you
catch.
can with glitter. There's only so much that glitter can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And how about this one? What childhood fascination never left you?
A lot of things, but first thing came up to mind was color. Color.
Color. Yeah. You're a colorful guy for sure. Well, awesome. Hey, it's been great talking to you. I think I'll have you back on and hear more about your Red show and your next projects. But yeah, it's great. If you ever get a chance to see any of Lonnie's work, do it. We'll put some of these places in the show notes. Maybe you can track them down if you're in Denver. definitely check it out. Lonnie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, David. Always great.
So what is immersive art and entertainment? I suppose it depends on who you talk to. For some, immersive might be something large scale, like a week at Disney World. For others, it might be the intimacy of a magician strolling through a restaurant showing you a trick. I think for most people, it's probably something in the middle. It's a more interactive theater show or even an installation, something like Meow Wolf in Denver, in Houston, in Dallas, in Las Vegas. But I like the way that Lonnie thinks about immersive. For him, immersive is a collection of pieces and parts that he uses to put together to make an experience. And for him, the experience has some specific qualities. He wants that experience to be uplifting, to be joyful, to generate curiosity, and to be magical. And that's where I think that Lonnie answers the fun question pretty clearly, which is immersive, at least the way I think he thinks about it and the way I see it. Immersive is about bringing people into a place of playfulness, of bringing them into a place where things aren't quite what they seem, so you have to spend some time playing with ideas, maybe playing with people, maybe playing with actors. But what you're doing is you're actively a part of the story that he wants to tell. Now, I've been to a number of Lonnie's installations and seen quite a few of his projects, and they all do share this kind of whimsical quality. The history of the ball that used to be outside Coors Field in Denver, which should be returned at one point in time, long story. It's this arch, and it's this beautiful arch with all this terracotta balls on it, baseballs, bowling balls, Lucille ball. It's funny. It's clever. It makes you think about what is a ball? Why are we culturally obsessed with balls? It's magical. It makes you think about baseball in the context of this spherical thing that we carry around with us with such great portent in sports and in life, but really it's just an object of play. So when I think about immersive, my simple explanation is immersive is simply the fine arts channeled through the play aesthetic. Immersive is fine art when it's fun. And in that sense, maybe all art one day will be immersive because it will become playful and fun. But what I really want to leave you with is this idea that everything from driving through the neighborhood and looking at Christmas lights to going to a haunted house to attending a country fair to visiting Disneyland or an interactive art museum, even if it's a selfie palace like the Museum of Ice Cream, all these are immersive experiences in the sense that they engage you and the people that you're with in a moment of play, and it brings the fun out. So check out Immersive wherever you are, wherever you can. Type Immersive Art and Entertainment and see what comes up. And certainly if you're in Denver, follow Lonnie. He is a guy who's always got something cooking, and it's always going to be a lot of fun.